Okay, good morning. So we're starting a new Siman Reish Yutes, the Birchas Haidas Hayachid. So this is the bracha of Hagomel. It's an interesting halacha. It says the Mechaber Sif Aleph. Arba tzrichim lahaidos. There are four categories of people who need to say Hagomel, to give thanks. Yardei Hayom, those who go down or travel through the sea. Kshe'olam men, when they sort of arrive on the other side. V'holchem midbaris, those who go through the midbar. When they arrive at habitation, someone who is sick and is now cured, or someone who is imprisoned and is now released. The simonech and the simon to remember these four is v'chol hachaim yodu chosela, and Chaim is chavush, yisurim, yom, and midbar. So it's a Rosh Tevis for those four things. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Aleph Kshe'olam imenu. So he travels by sea, and he emerges on the other side. For Davka Kshe'olam Menu Legamri, says Davka where he emerges totally. Ve'in Bechlal Zeh Masha Oimdim Im Masfina Kshebo Lenomol Va'anoshim Shebo Yerdim Le'abosh Le'yom Le'ymayim Oad Shetagia Zman Asfina Le'lech Hola. It's not, if it's just stopping at the port for a day or whatever it is, and then it's carrying on, that's not finished, and therefore you don't make a Hagomel then. Because you're sort of continuing on your journey. And so too if you're going through the desert, or you're passing through a city, because you're continuing, you're not out of sakana, this is only halfway through. So he's got an interesting footnote. Number one, you talk about the parallels today. What about a chayal who comes back for a few days? He's been serving in Gaza or wherever, and he knows he's going back 2 days later. So does he make a Hagomel then or not? So it's interesting. So look at number one. Even if he's got to go down and stop off in the port there, this Holech Midbar or Holech Yam, if he's just stopping en route and he's going to carry on, then that's not his final destination. So if a person is going to place A and is planning on going to place A, and then he moves on, he goes to place B, then it could be that that's different, and then each stage would require Hagomel. Even if he's staying in that place for a day, and then he's there for a day or so, even if for a short time, he makes Hagomel, and then he's going to, because he's planned to do that. So this seems to be the difference is whether he's planning on stopping there or not. Now here, then he says the final thing. He comes back to his place. So he then quotes the Shevet HaLevi, Shetzorich levorich v'alkein. This is our chayal question. Chayalim hashovim mimkoimam mimakom sakona. Leveisom lekama yomim. So he's been discharged for a few days. And then he's going to go back into Gaza. He's going to go back to the battlefront. Every time they come out and they have respite for a few days, he needs to make Hagomel, and then when he goes back in again, he's going to come out again and he'll make Hagomel again. Okay, let's carry on. So too, one of the four people who's Aboim Tzrichim Lahidos, we're talking about Birchas Hagomel, the way to remember it is Chaim. So Chaim is Chavush, someone who's imprisoned, Yisurim, who's had Yisurim, Yom, and Midbar, and the person who was sick is Nisrape, Vahilich Kvar Al Buryoi, and he recovers fully. Misha Hoya Chavush, Das HaMagen Avram, Demarik B'Chavush Al Iskei Nefoshes Dafka. Now he was imprisoned because of Iskei Nefoshes, not because of other things, not because of Dinim Ominous. V'harbe Cholkim Olav, and however he was imprisoned. If he was imprisoned, then he makes a Hagomel when he comes out. V'ayim behalach mash be'aranim v'zeh. Kosev achronim. The mission is chayv arba osun. What if a person is chayv all four? In other words, he went through the midbar, he was ill, he went through the yam, and he was chavush as well. So, the mission is chayv arba osun. Ein mevorach in bracha achas lekulan. You make one bracha and that covers all of it. Ayid kosu to cotton ein mechuyev lahoda. It's very interesting. What about a child, right, who flies? He's an accompanied minor. right? Or whatever, just any situation. A child that travels, does he need to say Birchas Hagomel? So, Vafilu mitzad chinuch, he says, so the Mishnah Berurah says, a cotton eina mechuyev lahaydais, even mitzad chinuch. So two interesting ha'aras, 7 and 8. V'lagabi cotton sheretz levarech halatzalos. So what if, so the Mishnah Berurah says, a child does not make Birchas Hagomel. Very interesting halacha. But what if the kid wants to? He sees his dad do it, he sees other people do it. What if the cotton wants to? So he says in 7, V'lagabi cotton sheretz levarech halatzalos, or av sheretz lehidas halatzalos b'nei cotton, or a child never is sick and recovers and the father wants to do it for him. What happens then? Hayra Agon Rishlem Azar ben Arbach, shechaven lotzes kishmevarech Birchas Hagomel chasolim tovim sheyeh b'fnei asara. I.e., the bracha we're all going to make soon. In Birchas Hashachar, after the brachas, we make Baruch Atah Hashem Hagomel l'chayavim tovim shekmalani kol Hagomel. What's lashon? Hagomel chasolim tovim, right? Which we say in Lam Yisrael. So have in mind that is your Birchas Hagomel. That's the way out. Anyone who is mesupek, do I make a bracha or not? Have it in mind when you make that particular bracha. Now, why is it? Why should a cotton not make a bracha? Never a cotton is sick or traveled or whatever it is kidnapped. Why do you not make a bracha? It's a fascinating reason. Look at number 8. V'tamadov v'kosav magen Avram b'shem maharam means shehel v'nusach habracha l'chayovim. Yeah, the bracha is hagomel l'chayovim tovim shemashmo shechayovim einish. They were mechuyev and einish, and they were saved. Eina shaykh b'cotton. That's not applicable for a cotton. Shelav bar einshin. He's a kid. He's not chayav for einshin. He's not culpable. V'im mitzad chet ovim. And if you're going to talk about the father's sins, also live no lemezos. For the kid to say that because of my dad I'm chayav for this, that's not appropriate to say. So that's why a child is not chayav to make the bracha. Okay, what about women? V'gam noshim, back to the Mishnah Berurah, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down on page 270. V'gam noshim, minhag ha'olam she'ein mevarchin bracha zu. The minhag is that women don't make this bracha. V'kos v'achreinim hatam mishum desei de bracha zu b'fnei asara. Interesting that the normal way of baking hagomel is in front of 10 people, and therefore it's not considered appropriate for a woman to make such a public declaration. The others say no, she should make a bracha in front of 10 people. Preferably in front of other women and at least one man. Now the question is, of course, what about Birchas Hagomel? Huh? Gives birth, right? So we'll see it a little later. But if you have a look at 10. He mentions this. A woman who gives birth, sometimes there'll be a shalom zacha, or there'll be a kiddush, or there'll be people in the house. She's also chayev to bring a carbon. That in Yerushalayim the minhag is they do make a bracha. However, you jump to the bottom line. Me'idach lebeis hagon Yaakov Kanievsky in the disciples' home lo bircha noshim af ala leida. So they're different minhagim. He says v'shad shuvas har tzvi kosov shlefi chelek me'apoiskim yoledes ein yechol levarach hagomel mepnei she'ein shaykh boloshen lechayovim. So why don't they make a bracha? So they're different minhagim, but those who don't, because the nusach of the bracha is hagomel lechayovim tomis. They're not chayav. They weren't chayav in einish. This is the way of the world. There's a danger of childbirth, but it's not an einish for her. It's not a punishment for her. We're going to get there from today. It is an einish. Because ultimately it comes back, difficulty in childbirth is ultimately the einish that was given to Chava, be'etzav tel dibonim, haruka einish al chet, and therefore it's still shaykh to make the bracha. So either way, there's different minhagim, yes or no, to make. I think it seems to be the minhag here is more like Yerushalayim, that we do make. My wife made the shalom zachas we made. The minhag seems to be that the husband makes, we'll see soon. Okay, base. What is the nusach of the Hagomel bracha? Sif base. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Hagomel lechayovim tovos shegmolani kol tov v'hashomim omrim mi shegmalcha kol tov v'yigmalcha kol tov selo. Says Mishnah Berurah Dalet Hagomel lechayovim tovos pirush afilu lo'osim shem chayovim. Even those people who were chayav and einesh im kol zeh Hagomel lohem tov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave kindness and goodness to save that person. V'gam ani afal pi she'eni hagon, and even though I'm not appropriate for it, al im kol zeh Kamulani b'chol tov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me goodness to save me from that situation. V'nusach ze'ina ma'akev. The actual exact nusach is not ma'akev. Kol she'omer inyan ha'bracha. Anyone who says similar to it, we'll see a different nusach in Sif Dalet. That's enough. Kosovo Rama Mavarch Sorch Shia Oimid B'Shas Bracha, or B'Diavad Yotze Af B'Yeshiva. He should stand, but B'Diavad, if he sits, it's okay. V'Hashomim Oimrim, V'Imloi Omer Eina Ma'akev. And even if you didn't hear the person say the bracha, you can still answer Amen. So take a look at 11, an interesting thing. What if a person put himself into danger? Do you still make the bracha? If a person nebuch got sick, but what if he puts himself in danger? So look at number 11, some very interesting things. He still makes the bracha. Why? He's also got to give praises to the fact that he was saved. Unbelievable. Did Yitzchak make a Hagomel after the Akedah? He was in a pretty precarious situation, right? Cherav munach al tzavorei, and so he says he doesn't make a bracha. Now, why not? So he says, "V'chein haKohen Gadol le'birch lacha shenichnas l'kodesh kadashim b'yom Kippurim." We've just been learning Yuma. So does the Kohen Gadol in the Bayis Sheni, which is a period of 420 years? I think the Gemara says over 300 Kohanim Gedolim. So it's a bit Russian roulette. It's a bit high risk. So did he make a Hagomel after? The Gemara says, the Mishnah says he made a Yontif and they made a Suda, but did he bench Hagomel? So the answer is no. Yitzchak Avinu did not make a bracha after the Akedah, neither did Kohen Gadol after Yom Kippur. Why? Listen to the Svara. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to go do it. So either Al Pi HaDibur Yitzchak was told to the Akedah, or the Kohen Gadol is a mitzvah, it's a tzivui to do it. V'lo ba'aleim hasakona me'eleh, and it didn't come naturally yourselves. V'im kein b'makom she'ichin zaz min sakona shal pi din hayotzorech lamus. Is really pi din he should die. B'vaday tzorech levarach hagoyim al hatzalasei. Okay, and then there are different opinions. So in other words, whether or not a person puts himself in that situation, they're different minhagim. Either way, the Pesachim seem to say that Yitzchak Avinu did not make a bracha on the Akedah, nor did the Kohen Gadol who emerged from the Kodesh Kodashim. Okay, just also interesting, why have you got to stand for this bracha lechatchila? In 12 he says, Tam hadova kosav abach mishum shebracha zu. It says v'moishav zakenim yaluhu. It says in Nishon Shrak hazakenim yoshim, which is mashma that the zakenim sits. Aval hamavarich atzmai, hamavarich oimeid. And the Eliyahu says the time is mishum shebracha zu nikras halal, and it's like a halal. V'tzorich lo'imrim b'doim el halal shemaros mamido. When we say halal, we stand. So different reasons why we stand. Okay, good. Gimel. You should make Hagomel in front of 10 people. For Trey Minayu Rabbanon, 2 of them should be Talmidei Chachamim. Techsiv Vayiremu B'Kal Om, over Moishav Zekenim Yaluhu, which that's a reference to 2. V'im Lo Shkich Rabbanon, if you haven't got Talmidei Chachamim there, Lo Yaniach Menevarich, don't hold off from making the bracha. For Na'agu Levarich Acha Kriyas HaTorah, which is what we do. Lefisha Yesham Asar, because there is a minyan for Kriyas HaTorah. V'im Berich B'Pachas Me'asar, and if you made a bracha with less than 10, Yesh Oimim Sheyotza, V'yesh Oimim Shelo Yotza. If there wasn't 10 people, Machlekas if you're Yotze or not, for Tov Lachsa V'Varich B'Asar, B'Leas Kar Shem Malchus. And therefore, to do it again without shame v'malchus. Okay, let's just do Gimel. B'fnei Asara, it says Mishnah Zeh im balanes. In other words, 10, including the person who is actually making the bracha. Of Moshe Zakenim, ve'ein zoken el misha kono chachma. V'kas among Avram de bo'inan hani de tonu hilchasa. You need people who learn halacha. Oh, dirshu. Right? So what's 14 and 15? 2 interesting ha'aras. So he says, number 14, Mishum kach kos b'shal shuvas earlet zion, she'odef levarach beis medrash sheyesh b'shnei tamidei chachamim. Better to make in a beis medrash where there are 2 tamidei chachamim, af she'ein by sefer Torah. Me'asher levarach beis hakneses b'shal kriyas haTorah k'she'ein sham tamidei chachamim. If you got a choice, do I make in a place where there are 10 people and therefore it's after kriyas haTorah and there's a sefer Torah there, or do I make it where there's in a beis medrash or something with not b'shal kriyas haTorah, i.e., when there's no Sefer Torah, it's better to do it with the Talmidei Chachamim. Okay, and 15, how do you define someone who is Tonu Hilchasa, someone who learns halacha? How do you define that? It's quite a broad, sort of general, a vague term almost. So, Bi'ah Machsa Shekel, Shem Srichin Yes Ru'im Lahires. They've got to be poskim. They've got to be able to paskin at some level. V'aprima Godim Bi'ah Shehem Loim De Talmi HaMishnah. They know Svaras. And the Chasam Sofer says, Mavur shedai b'shnaim shemazbirin lohem es halacha v'hem mevinim. No, you just got to, some people who just have to explain a certain halacha and they understand. Okay, yeshem sheyotza. So if you didn't do it in front of a minyan, do 2 days whether you're yotza. Yeshem sheyotza. V'alik hasar in the mitzvah lechatchila. You do it in front of 10 people. If you haven't got a minyan, not the end of the world. If you know you're not going to get to 10 people, yivarich b'lei hasara. Afilu lechatchila. That one Rav said, I heard it last night, he said, you know what goes through my mind during the Ila? He says, what goes through my mind during the Ila is, am I going to get a minyan for Shachris tomorrow? Right? So that's what he says. So if you're not going to have a minyan, yeah, so you're going to hold off, so just do it. Wait 30 days. If you're not going to get a minyan within 30 days, then just do it. So if you're not sure, if you did it in front less than 10 people, then do it again, but without saying the shame. Okay, it's time to do Dalet. Dalet is not so long. In Beirach, now this is very interesting. Now, this is what the Mishnah Berurah mentioned before. In Beirach, Acher va'omar, Baruch, in other words, you were the one who, recovered from an illness or whatever. And somebody else said, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher gemalcha kol tuv, who saved you. Va'ana amen, and you answer amen, yotza, you've made Hagomel, because you've answered amen to someone else saying the bracha. V'chein imam baruch rachmana malka d'alma di'avin lach, which is the similar nusach in Aramaic. Va'ana amen, yotza, says the Ramah, ve'ein ze bracha levatolem, and amavarech alfa pish nischayv bracha zu, hayel ve'ein amavarech rak derech shevach ve'dual tovas chaver shesamach bo. And it's not a bracha vatola for him to make it, because, the hayel ve'ein amavarech Rak derech shevach v'edo, it's a praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, in Berach Acher, midasasam v'chav mashma, dafilu Acher she'ena kroivei. Anybody else comes and is so happy to see you, and he's not a relative of yours. Yachal levarech hatovas chaveirei. Kol shemesamech b'zeh, he's genuinely happy to see you. V'ayim be'halacha diba maschel ve'ein zeh. V'ana amen, and you said amen, but more than that. V'lo an amen lo yatsa, umayri sheshoma habrocha mitchila vatsa. If you heard the bracha from beginning to end, v'kivei nami lotzas be'dechi was Birchas Hagomel shenischayv. That's the important point. You had in mind that this is going to be your Birchas Hagomel, and you said amen. Yatsa. V'uadin lechatchila yachol lifter atzim b'dekach. In lechatchila you can do it. You can get somebody else to make the bracha. V'davka yeshom asor if there are 10 people. But if they're not 10 people, then don't have that in mind, because it's better to do in front of 10. Or that depends on the above, what we said in Sif Gimel. And therefore do that trick. Do it without Hashem v'malchus. That this is the Aramaic nusach of the bracha. B'shas ha'girsa di'havichlon v'lo yahavich la'afra. He saved you, he gave you over to life and not to dust. Ve'ein zeh hainu. Afilu lo hayasham asor anoshim v'yesh omrim hanal b'seif gimel t'svirlei de lo yotz v'pachas me'asora. The according to that opinion says that you need a minyan and less than 10 is no good. V'imkein ha'choyle ein yotz v'bracha zu. Afilu ha'chi lo mikra zeh bracha v'tola. It's still not the bracha v'tola the gabi ha'mevarech shur shayla me'bracha zu l'kulama afilu pachas me'asora. Even if it's less than 10, and according to the opinion that says that less than 10 doesn't work, for somebody else to make that bracha out of simcha, that he's seen you, that's not considered the bracha v'tola. Tesvav, afa pishle nischayv, delo nizka chiv bracha zu b'shas ba'arba'a strichen lodes ki'im bohen atzman, because we only find it that the people themselves say this bracha v'lo shivarach acher alehen. Okay, rak derech shvach rotzolem shle b'teras chiv. He just does it because he's he's giving praise to Hashem. Al tovas chaveiroi. Now, this is going back to the Yoledes. V'kolshkin alishtei. So if you can do it for somebody else, your chava, certainly you can do it for your wife. Sheika gufay the rishai levarch mizer nagim ksas hanoshim kshe yoldus neshoseihem v'chaydus levaron when they recover from childbirth oimdim mevarchim Birchas Hagomel. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. V'chashi taina amen, when she answers amen al birchasai on her husband's bracha, Yitzis Bazeh, she has been Yitzis the mitzvah of saying the bracha of Hagomel. V'nusach ha-bracha yomar, so what do you say, what does the husband say? Hagomel l'chayovim toives shegmoloch kol tov. That's what he says. V'im berich shalei b'foneha, and if she's not there in shul or wherever, yomar shegomal le'ishti kol tov. V'im mevarch al avi v'yirabba yomar baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shegomal la'avi el rabbi kol tov. V'im b'fonav yomar shegomal kol tov. Okay, shesamach bo. V'davka b'kreivei oihavei shall kol panim sameach hu b'rfu'asei. Dafka is going to be someone close that you are very happy that he's recovered. and a sha'ima came b'fnei Hashalom, Eina levarach b'shem v'malchus, to bezeh birchas levatolish, and a yom baruch Hashem yisbarach dihavachlon. V'ayim v'aloch sheyesh cholkim al ikat din zeh b'haga, v'al kein me'anochen nizor lechatchila shlo levarach birchas hagomel afilu al krev v'avoi, ki im al oviv v'rabbi levad. So just to summarize, there's a woman make a hagomel, so they're different minhagim. It seems in Yerushalayim they did, in Bnei Brak they didn't. The minhag here in our shul seems to be that one does. A woman could do it herself, or the husband could do it on her behalf, but different minhagim. Okay.